Welcome to my live review of Red Dead Redemption 2. Probably the most divisive game I have ever played, with peaks and valleys that are unequaled in my eyes to anything I've ever experienced. And even now, here at the end, where I'm sitting with a so-called score for the game, which I would put at a 6 out of 10. I'm still not sure how I'm going to feel about this game in a year or in 7 years. What I can say is that I came into this game with a fair amount of hype. Um, just to kind of run down, I guess, my history with Rockstar games, is that I've been a fan of them since Grand Theft Auto 3. Always looked forward to their games, but I was one of those people that was very disappointed with Grand Theft Auto 5 and what Grand Theft Auto Online became, and actually was kind of thinking about not playing this game when it was announced. But then I remembered that this isn't exactly made by the same team, and I remembered how much I enjoyed Red Dead Redemption, which was another game that I kind of came into blind, pretty much completely blind. Um, Basically, I had dropped off a friend at the airport very early in the morning and was driving by and just happened to notice that there was a Walmart by my house, and one of those 24-hour Walmarts. And I was like, I got a week off from school. I was in college at the time, but had just started spring break. So I walked into the Walmart and I walked to the game section, and just sitting there waiting for me was just an open box of Red Dead Redemption PlayStation 3 copies. So I literally just grabbed one, paid for it, went home, and started playing it, and just fell in love with the game. Um, I'm not going to go on at length about Red Dead Redemption. I think it's pretty much universally hailed as a great game. So I don't think I need to defend it or spend too much talking about it. But I did replay the game. Actually, it coincided that it was right before this game came out. Let me take a sip of my beer here. So for the past year and a half, I've been going back and playing PlayStation 3 games, and just kind of, for some of them, just beating the ones that I didn't beat or playing the ones I didn't get to. For a large majority of them, since I didn't miss a lot of games in that era, has just been going back and re-experiencing the games, sometimes to the detriment of my opinion of them, sometimes to the improvement of that opinion. But I feel like I've learned a lot about the history of games just by doing that, just because, like, playing games and being able to place them in their era, and just being able to say, like, oh wow, Dead Space came out in 2008. I thought that game was a lot later for some reason, and it's so well polished that it almost seems like a later generation game. But to be able to play that game and experience just how good it is, for example, like, really puts the death of Visceral as a studio in perspective. But anyway, it just coincided that I had started Red Dead Redemption and actually had considered not finishing it because, it's a huge game, and I was like, I'm not going to want to play through this whole thing again, am I? But it turned out that I did. I really enjoyed the game. It holds up very well. Some of the frustrating little flaws still, linger. Um, but I just kind of fell in love with it all over again. And it just so happened that as I was winding down the playthrough of that game, this game had just come out. And like I said, I was so disappointed with GTA 4 that I wasn't really looking forward to this game that much, and especially because all the trailers seemed to show the game trending towards a lot more like, scripted scenes and dialogue and like scripted missions, um, which was part of the reason I didn't like GTA 5. But by the end of Red Dead 1, I was so in love with the series again that there was no way I wasn't going to play Red Dead 2, which had just come out like 4 days before, as I was beating Red Dead 1 again. So I picked it up, and you can go back and look at my YouTube channel. I live streamed the first like 10, 15 hours of the game, and really loved certainly the first like 6 hours were just, no holds barred, incredible quality. I was so into it. And then as the mechanics of the open world started to make their appearance, I did experience a little bit of a drop in enjoyment. And then it just got to the point where the game's length kept me from finishing it all at once. And I got into this pattern where I would come back to the game, play, a mission, which is generally 20 minutes to an hour, depending on how you're playing it. Maybe wander around a little bit, and just kind of quit on the game, as like different things that I was forgetting about the gameplay because of the long gaps started to make an appearance, and those kind of things would frustrate me. Like I'd go hunting and then I'd realize like, oh shit, all the steps to like skinning an animal. You have to get off your horse, skin the animal, then pick it up, and then cook or sell the food. Everything just takes so long. There's so many different steps to everything you do in this game that it started to kind of wear me down, and I actually got to the point where I was like, well, I guess I'm not going to finish it. And I was, just kind of wash my hands of the whole affair and just say, well, it's a long game. Who has the time? But for no other reason than, I guess, a certain kind of stubbornness. And I guess because I enjoyed the first game so much, and I just have such fond memories of that world and learning everything in it. It was a game that I played by myself, kind of in the, not pre-internet, but before I certainly engaged with the internet, during the playthrough of a game so heavily, to the point where you might be exposed to spoilers, or even just help and hints. It really was like kind of one of those, within the last like 2 years of experiencing games like completely outside of any community. Dark Souls came out the next year. It was kind of the same. Skyrim, Battlefield 3, which incidentally released a little bit before Skyrim and Dark Souls. That was a game where I was constantly checking the online community to see, about patches and tactics and weapons, stuff like that. But those games and this game, or the first Red Dead to a large degree, was just kind of my experience, and so it's very special for that reason. And I guess for that reason, let's go ahead and start the game. It takes a while to load anyway. I guess for that reason, I kind of refuse to give up on this game. And also, to be fair, having just experienced Red Dead 1 and having seen some of the weaker parts of that game, it kind of kept me pushing through this game and seeing like, well, it's not, no game is perfect, and the first one certainly wasn't. And this game has already shown me great things, so I tried to just kind of push through the weaker parts. Anyway, this morning I finished the game, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad that I stuck with it. Much like the first game, I don't feel a strong inclination to keep playing. Although, much like the first game, I feel like I've done most everything in the game that could be called a reasonable activity. Not everything, but like anything that's marked on the map, I've done, and then some. My volume's a little low, but I think I'm going to leave it that way so I don't feel like I'm yelling over myself or yelling over the game as it's coming through the headphones. So yeah, I guess let's talk completion. This is John Marston, of course. If you don't know, Arthur dies after you complete Red Dead 2, but then you have this like kind of two-part epilogue where you play as John Marston again. And that's a little strange. Yeah, it's kind of a strange choice. I think they could have gone with something else. I think they could have gone with Sadie Adler, who is an interesting character, a liked character. I think kind of a fan favorite, to be honest. And also, you you haven't played a game previously as Sadie Adler, so you don't have any expectation of what her life became after Arthur died, basically. Whereas John's epilogues here feel definitively shoehorned in. Like to fit Red Dead 1, I guess. And it's not a perfect fit, but it's kind of like whatever. I'm not upset by any of this, but it's just like kind of an interesting choice, or a strange choice, to be honest. In a game full of strange, puzzling choices. And I think that's going to be basically a summation of my review of this game. It's just like, yeah, it's great. I think it's worth the money, even at full price, which it's certainly not at this point, I would think. A year after release, I'm sure you can wait for a sale at some point and get it fairly cheap. I would still say that at $60, it's a full game. You definitely get your money's worth. Maybe we'll see in the menus here. If I had to guess how long I've played the game in order to complete it, I would easily say 100 hours, if not more. I might be a little bit embarrassed if it's more than 100 hours, but I've kind of fucked around in the game too, so. But certainly, I think this is a game that I can easily say everyone is going to find something to hate about this game, and I think it's easy to get to a point in this game where, despite all the amazing things in it, you're going to experience something that's just going to be like, are you fucking serious, Rockstar? and you'll probably think very seriously about quitting. And I guess that moment came to me a few times during my playthrough of this game, because I'm by nature not somebody that finishes games, or feels obligated to finish games, rather. So I'll quit on a game pretty easily. Um, so yeah, it was kind of a chore to get through this one at many times. Again, I'm glad that I did, and I'm glad I'm at this point. I think it says a lot that I didn't immediately erase the game and save and everything, and have kept it around on, I guess, the premise that I might play a little bit more as John, maybe complete a few things. Who knows? Maybe even get the bugs someday to 100% it. Although that's very unlikely. And then there's also the online component, which actually I think I might, once I'm done reviewing the story, I might actually quit out and review the online portion. Because I think that's pretty interesting too, and interesting also in regards directly to the story, because I've probably put about 40 hours into the online component, and a lot of times it was in reaction to the story. Excuse me, getting a little gassy from this beer, but you know, what do you do? It's Saturday. Yeah, like a lot of times the frustration with the mechanics and the main story actually force me to seek refuge in the online mode, which has a few key differences that I think make it really appealing. Certainly 40 hours appealing. Maybe more time, actually. I've played a fair amount. It might be as much as like 60 hours. I'm not even level 20. I think I'm level like almost level 19. But I've been focusing on just enjoying the online game as opposed to like really ranking up in it. As I said, it's kind of been an escape for me. Um, but yeah, we'll deal with that later. As far as okay, well, let's go into some menus, I guess. And let's talk about completion rate. Overall, the UI for this game is pretty good. Like the clock up there on the left, like I'm not sure why it's not just a little bit bigger. There is kind of a lot of information to get through in these menus, but for the most part, I think it's handled well. And it certainly works well within the theme of an old Western, where it's like not everything is maybe as accessible as it should be, but maybe it kind of fits the theme that it's a little clunky. So as you can see, the story is 100% completed. I think there may still be like missable kind of side missions in the story. I'm not sure about that, but that's a feeling I get because I feel like a couple of the side stories I did, like I skipped a couple parts or something. Compendium, I'm just under half of the entries completed. So, pretty good, not great. I'm about half on the animals, just under half on the animals, under half of the equipment, just under half of fish, all the gangs discovered. I hate the gangs. I haven't put any effort into like wiping them out or anything, but I think that if I had confirmation that you could wipe out the gangs, then I probably would have, because they're just like getting ambushed randomly during the game was not really fun. The plants are interesting, but I don't know, surprisingly like absent. Like you can't necessarily count on finding you know, like 20 herbs in between towns because some routes like just don't have a lot of stuff. So I don't know. It's there. I think if you like really want to hunt stuff down, it'll definitely help your playthrough because you'll have stuff to replenish and make stuff that'll even replenish more. You know, your stats. But I think it's well done for sure. Horses. You know, lovely animals. I guess I'm not mad at horses in this game. I'm mad at saddles. We'll talk about that later. Weapons, interesting, but again, the issue with the saddles kind of makes the topic of guns and horses like a little touchy. And then, wow, 18 of 144. Um, Even with all the exploration I've done, I haven't really come close to completing that. It would be, I think it would be interesting to try to complete one of them. This is one of the things that kind of lingers as far as what I want to come back to, but not really sure that I want to, you know, scour the world for little cards. Alright, so getting into challenges, well, as you can see, I've been pretty much doing a good guy run, so I don't have any bandit points. Probably not really interested in finding out too much about that branch. This surprises me a little bit. 3 out of 10 is considerably, well, higher than most of them. But I've done a fair bit of exploring in this game, so all I've done is 3 out of 10. Let's see. Find a treasure. Find. Oh, so this is just the treasures, I guess. Okay. Interesting. Well, I haven't found many treasures. I've certainly explored, but that's not what that's called here. Gambler. Done some gambling, right? Oh, well, I'm not playing blackjack. Herbalist. Okay, I gotta find 2 more species of berry. You know, that's pretty fucking hard. Horseman. Ride from Valentine to Rhodes in less than 5 minutes. Okay. Alright, let's put a pin on that. Master Hunter. Track 10 different animal species using your binoculars. Only 5 out of 10 tracked. Okay, the binoculars are also a little bit funny as far as like a tool. Because you use them to, well, you know, telescope your view, but also to get information about animals, but also to start tracking animals. And it's not really explained, you know, at any point, like why that makes sense. Like you could easily have a hunting mission when someone's like, binoculars are a hunter's tool, blah blah blah. Here's what you got to do. But no, you never get that. You just have to fucking figure it out. Sharpshooter. Kill 2 different species of animal in the same Deadeye use. Okay, well, I could probably do that. Survivalist. Dynamite arrow crafted. Poison arrow crafted. See, and I have to but I have to find out how to make those things first. Kill 3 enemies in 10 seconds using only throwing knives. It's kind of tough. Total completion. Gang hideouts. So I guess I've done 4 of these. Didn't think so. Graves. Through bad decisions and bad luck, not everyone will survive this difficult journey. As they pass, pay your respects and find the graves of 9 fallen companions. Oh, okay. I can probably find Arthur pretty easily, since I know where he died. Poor Lenny. He's probably buried somewhere out by Saint Denis, I guess. Interesting. Alright, so... Well, let's... Player, what is this now? Job. Underweight. I don't understand the whole weight thing. It's like, I guess... If I want to eat every, like, 20 minutes in this game, who wants to fucking do that? Yeah, all this stuff is just, I don't know, a little weird. And to be honest, that's probably the first time I've looked at all those menus in a very long time. Okay. Well, Valentine to Rhodes, we can do that. I think. If not, I certainly have enough money to buy a horse. I can do that. Alright, so let's get to something that actually resembles a review of the game, right? Well, I think Red Dead 2 is obviously... It's the definition of a AAA game, right? Nobody's going to mistake this for like an indie release or not know that it came out. I'm sure there's a lot of guys, especially maybe even women, I don't know, who like set aside time to play this game when it came out and were like really obnoxious to their friends and family and significant others the week that this game came out, because they were like, "Oh, I'm gonna shoot you with my Red Dead." Yeah. So this is definitely an event. This is the definition of a AAA game. But that being said, that title can go away pretty quickly with any game. You know, I think like The Division was an event game, but we're not really talking about that. Interestingly, not a lot of people are still talking about this game. Like, I mean, the online side of it has been a little bit controversial, and, you know, as it gets patched and comes together, that's been in the news here and there. But I feel like not a lot of people are like revisiting this game or finishing it or really talking about it too much, you know, since its release. So it makes me a little bit curious as to like what this game's long-term like staying power really is. I think still generally positive. But I certainly had my issues with the game. And I think that, personally, I'm a little hesitant to play the next Rockstar game, to be honest. Because I'm not sure that I want to invest this kind of attention and time to a game that, like, you know, 45% of the time is kind of working against me. Even if it looks this great, and this game does look great, and it goes beyond looking great. Like the world, I think that this game is actually, this is the one contribution I would I would say Red Dead 2 has definitely made, which is that this is not a game that just looks great. It feels great, like a world that you inhabit and you act in very deliberate ways. Like, you no longer have to like constantly be convincing me or tricking me into kind of buying into it. It's just all put together so well that I'm with you constantly. You know, the breaks from reality in this game, I think, are very short and far between. Few and far between. How did I mess up that? So let's just kind of give an example. You know, I mean, just look at how good my player character looks and how good the ground underneath me looks as far as like a texture and everything, and then just kind of appreciate the extension of that quality and detail all the way out to the horizon. In this case, that tree line. In this case, the moon over this, rock. And the skybox. The clouds are especially really good at this game. Like, they actually feel like look at that, like dynamic clouds. And in the far, far distance, just earlier in the game, I was actually kind of riding over this part. So if you're not familiar with Red Dead, this would have been the first part of the map in Red Dead 1, and then you later came to this part, or a kind of different version of this part. But in between those, you actually came down to Mexico. You got to play around down here. In this game, you can't go down to Mexico. People have been able to hack their way down there. But in the regular game, there's no way to make it down there, unfortunately. Although I'm kind of glad that there's not a whole other section of the map that I have to do content for. But it would have been nice, because there's some really cool parts of that map that would have been great to experience. Who knows, maybe in some DLC. But I was actually riding around the coast here, and I was able to look down into this part of Mexico, and especially around here, there's a bunch of really interesting rock formations. And they were, even though you never get to go to that part of the map, as far as I could see from the shore here, they were fully rendered and everything, and they looked amazing. So again, the landscape in this game is just super important, and very well executed. I mean, look at that. This is great. But it's not just that, and in fact, this game, you would think, I think if you told me, okay, I have this this game, and the way you experience it is by playing on this huge, beautiful map that I've made with very separate regions and landscapes and animal life and weather. I would say oh well, sorry, I'm trying to answer a text here. Okay, yeah, so anyway. Yeah, this is like a fully, realized world and everything, but you don't get to act on it the way you would think. Like, even though this game frustratingly like has farming and ranching in it, but you cannot be a farmer or a rancher. Sure, like in the last like 2% of the game, as John Marston in Red Dead 2, you are essentially a farmer rancher. Sure, but you never like rely on that. You don't, like, they even go to the trouble of like training you to put your eggs on the fucking wagon, but you never have to rely on that. You never actually have to drive to the market, keep the eggs safe, sell the eggs, get the money, come back, get shit for your farm. You never get to do any of that. It's just that one mission, and it's so crazily frustrating to me that you have this game and you're shoehorned into this like outlaw story, which, to be fair, is great, but you can never play another way. You always have to be this outlaw. But then the game is also saying like, well, you're in the Old West, you should know how to rustle up cattle. And so then the game teaches you how to do it, and then you never have to do it again. So there's kind of like this schizophrenic quality to this game where it's just like, what are they going for here? Like, is it an Old West experience? Am I an outlaw? Am I a rancher? Am I a nobody? Am I a somebody? It's not really clear. It's really strange. And I feel like considering how well the first game got away with throwing that stuff in at the end where you're like, oh, you killed all the bad guys, so now you have to work in your farm. And then you do about 5 of those missions, and then the law comes down and kills you in front of your wife and son. Right? And then you spend the last hour and a half as your son hunting down the man who killed your father, and then you kill him, and then the game's basically over, right? And I guess you can keep playing at that point, much like I am at that point, at this point here in this game, where you can keep playing, but the story is completely over. The difference is in that game, like, there's a lot less to do, and I felt more compelled to do all the extra stuff in that game before because it was helping me finish Red Dead 1. But now I'm at this point where I've done like, I feel like in Red Dead 1 when all those people are teaching John how to like ranch or farm, he should have been like, I know this. I learned it at the end of Red Dead 2. Like, okay. So anyway, I guess we're going to try to do this little race here. I'm at Valentine, and I got to get to Rhodes in 5 minutes. I don't think I have the strongest horse, but I think hopefully the trip is short enough that I can just do it. So yeah, it's interesting that I guess the way I feel about this game is like it either shouldn't have been an open world game, like it should have just been like a smaller set of areas, which I think could have been completed if the map was basically portioned off here, right? And it was just Arthur Morgan's story, and you have a kind of semi-open world to do everything you need to in, and then he dies, and you have to just guess the rest. Or maybe you're let loose as John Marston right away, but you don't have to go through the whole rigmarole of like, you know, whatever, learning to farm and ranch. Or it should have been a true open world, and it's, you know, once you start the game basically over here, and your gang is running away, and you end up camping. What is it, like over here somewhere? Like, you should have just been able to be like, well, I don't want to be a criminal. How about we just like learn about, like, buy some land, and it should have been open to that possibility, you know. But instead, you have to keep going through this like scripted narrative of Arthur's, which, you know, betrays even the gameplay that's available in the full game. And then, you know, you're just driven to this like same conclusion that everyone's going to have, which is that he dies. Saving John, or I guess you don't have to save John. I wonder what that looks like if you decide to go for the money. But yeah, again, like the whole like honor and what's the opposite, dishonor, whatever it's called. Like, that system doesn't really make sense. I mean, people treat you like a good guy. Anytime you meet anybody, they're just like, oh, hello, Mr. Morgan. Come on right over. Do my chores. And then Arthur's like, you don't know me. I'm a killer. And they're like, no, you're not. Here's how you start a fire. So... yeah, I'm just not sure what the game's going for. Anyway, let's try to do this race real quick. It's not a race, I just have to ride. Okay, so there's, you know, also like stuff like this where I'm like technically in town right now, so I can't ride full speed until I get out of the town. Doesn't matter how fast I push the button, I can't ride full speed. And I know that there's like the border, which I'm crossing now, yeah, on the map, but you just forget all the little details of this game all the time. I'm really curious to learn how many people who reviewed this game actually fucking finished it. I doubt many did, because it's taken me for fucking ever to finish this game. So, if you had a review ready to go of this game on the day it was released, and you were doing, I guess, nothing other than playing this game, which I find hard to believe or do, you would have had to been like in a fucking closet playing this game and doing nothing else for easily like 2 weeks. There's so much fucking gameplay. Like, physically, how much could a person take physically? You know? Oh, no, not... See, shit like that, you know, it's like, I'm trying to give my horse a fucking thing, but it's the same fucking symbol for the horse and the human. God damn it, you know? Like, you open that menu up and it's just a fucking wall of similar looking shit. Why? I can't... Okay, apparently can't fucking give it to him. For no fucking reason that I'm aware of. Just eat shit, player. And sure, I'm sure I can like go online and look up a YouTube video of somebody who will explain exactly how all this works. And I have no fucking clue how they found out that information. Because it's not in the game. Well, forget that 5 minutes crap. I'm sure I'm using this. No! Why do the rocks have glue attached to them? Now, one of the things that makes the end of this game so appealing to keep playing is the fact that finally, by the time that you've done all these fucking missions, you no longer have to worry about the gameplay taking control away from you even more than it normally wants to do certain shit, like put, you know, weapons on your horse or your saddle. It's not your horse, it's your saddle. Or whatever, make weapons appear, disappear. Like, one comforting thing about this whole thing is that now I can just play this game and nothing extra weird will happen. Because this game is constantly fighting you to say, oh no, this repeater, or this rifle, or this pistol, or this shotgun that you bought, that you, like, worked so hard to get, and saved up money for, and purchased, you can't use it. Because we think that you'll be better off with just your pistol in this fucking mission that we've created, you know? So you don't, like, have, even though this game seems to have a, okay, I got it somehow, Jesus. Doesn't feel like I was doing that great. Okay, drag a victim for 3,300 feet. So random, you know? It's just so random. Okay.
Easy, boy. Hungry fella.
Anyway. So yeah, it's this, like, overwhelming scripting of the game that actually intrudes on the experience of the game. It's really fucking weird. Oh, look, something new. Okay. Let's go see who it is.
Good morning to you.
Shut the fuck up, cowboy. And sometimes it's like a literal slap in the face where it's like, oh, hey, we're going on a stealth mission where I think I'm going to pull out my... Oh, it's these guys.
You're leaving me, huh? Sure. Yeah, well, leave this there.
So it's these runaway soldiers. Oh wait, I've done this with... What's his face?
It's Mr. Black's fault. His fault, the darky white. Well, I don't know why they call him that. Look out.
Weird.
Don't you start now.
I'll knock the color clean off you. Come on.
And I'll tar you, you lily liver.
Enough! Say, you two fools look like you've just run off from a chain gang.
Yeah, what up?
What are you doing?
Starving.
They got bounty posters for us all over town.
And we can't go into town to get supplies.
Say, mister, maybe you can do us fools a favor. We ain't bad guys at all. He's okay, even for a darky.
Shut it, you pasty-faced streak of piss!
Yeah, I had up to here with you.
Enough! Do your goddamn favor. What do you want?
Maybe you can go into town and take down them wanted posters of us.
Okay?
Maybe meet us back at the campfire in the woods and tell us how you did.
Maybe bring us a little bite to eat.
Don't push your luck.
Nice fella.
Yeah, you love nice fellas.
Don't you start up again. Just shut up.
You shut up!
Okay, so I've definitely done this mission as Arthur before, because I've done the follow-up missions to this one. So I'm not sure what that's about. Maybe I didn't finish that thread or something, and the game is letting me restart it, but it doesn't feel like a gift right now, certainly. Raspberry. So yeah, you know, as you're going through this game, you're kind of like fighting
One more time, boy.
the developers, to be honest. You're fighting Rockstar. There you go. And I don't know, it's just kind of sad that when you think that you're going to be creative and do something cool, quite often you get slapped down by the game, like, and it's quite hard, you know. And it's like, no, you're going to do it this way and this way only. I'll give you an example. So when you die as Arthur and you reappear as John Marston, you're in this region, right? Now, as Arthur Morgan, this part all the way down here has been closed off to you because you have a bounty on your head in that part of the world. And you never get to see it, even though like every player wants to go down to that part if they've played the first Red Dead, because you want to see what the map looks like in the brand new engine, right? So you're like, you want to get down there, but you never can as Arthur. As John Marston, you reappear in this part of the game, and you start out in the town of Strawberry, and then you get a job driving a wagon long ass way up here, all the way up here to this ranch, and then you get a job at the ranch, and you know, that's your first mission. So basically now you have a place to stay. So I'm thinking, like, oh, cool. I guess I guess it's an open world game again. First thing I want to do is go check out this part of the map, because now as John Marston, it's no longer red because I don't have a bounty. So I ride down, and I get about this far before these cougars kill my horse and then kill me because I realize I don't have a weapon anymore. So then I realize, okay, I have to do all the missions. I have to do all the farm missions. And, you know, there's only about 5 of them. But they take a while. They're not, like, really quick. Relatively quick for this game, but not super quick. And then you get to explore, you know. And I guess that's like this game down to a T. And that would be my review of this game. Is that you have this gigantic map to explore, all sorts of things to do, many of them interesting. But Rockstar seems to almost want to punish you for wanting that freedom. Yeah. So I guess that's Red Dead 2 for me. And I thought I was going to do an online review. I don't think I have the energy for it. Maybe at a later date. But yeah, it's just like this beautiful looking game with so many flaws, so many obstacles. And I think that, you know, if you look at the trophy selection, now here's the thing. If you want to talk about trophies, this game is not out for PC as of this video, which is a year after the game's release. This game is not out for PC. There's rumors, constant rumors of a release, but nothing concrete. And there's something like 100 million PlayStation 4 sold in the world. And I guess by some estimates, something like 40 to 60 million Xbox Ones. So there's two ways to play this game. Anywhere from 140 to 160 million people have access to this game. And if you look at the trophies, especially the later story missions and, you know, the later like achievements and stuff, are like still at rare to ultra rare. You know, rare, very rare, ultra rare. So I don't think a lot of people have beat this game, to be honest. I wish I could show you that, but I don't think the PlayStation 4 will let me. So I think that kind of speaks for itself. Despite all the reviews and glowing scores that this game has received, I don't think a lot of people have really played it all the way through and experienced it all the way through. So I'm pretty comfortable in my 6 out of 10 review. But I guess that's really all there is to say about this game, because it's not like you can say, well, you shouldn't play it. No, I think you should give it a shot. I wish there was a way to co-op the main story missions, because that would have made this game just a lot less painful to get through if I could do it with a friend. Maybe controlling, you know, a side character. Like, imagine this game with a structure similar to Peace Walker. Right? I mean, there's no reason why when you go to start a mission, which is usually at an icon on the map that's clearly marked, you couldn't also say, oh, by the way, this mission features like somebody with you, you could bring a friend along. You know. Just anything to make the pain a little less. Because this game can often be very painful to get through. And I guess in the end, it doesn't feel like the masterpiece that Red Dead 1, I think, was for a lot of people. Um, I would guess, this is just kind of wild speculation, but I would say that for many people, Red Dead 1 is still going to be the definitive, Rockstar third-person cowboy extravaganza. I guess if you finish this game, like I'm kind of even wondering, like, do I want to let this game hang out in my hard drive for another year? Will I come back to it periodically just to like hunt a couple deer and maybe find a new bird, or just level up in Red Dead Online? I mean, I don't know. I'm not super compelled to do that, even though, like, this is just kind of nice, just riding around. So we'll see. But anyway, that's my Red Dead 2 live review. Hope you guys have enjoyed that. See you later.